Hey, hey, hey! Emergency podcast time. Folarin Balogun has decided to play for the U.S. men's national team, so hit like and subscribe, and let's get after it. Yes! What is up, everybody? Folarin Balogun has decided to come to the U.S. men's national team. Yes! I'm so excited. We're not even going to do our traditional intro to the podcast. What is happening in Soccer We Trust? Whoa! It's me, Jimmy Conrad, alongside Hollywood Heartbreak Kid Pierce. Keith Pierce, that is. And we have James Benj, who's going to come in and give us the English perspective of Folarin Balogun, leaving the Three Lions to come and join us, United States men's national team. Heath, what are you wearing right now? What those are glasses? Like a lot of Dr. Disrespect vibes from you right now.
No, listen, I'm stoked, man. We did it. We did it, Jimmy. I literally just tweeted.
We got him.
And the truth is,
look at that
because
guy.
of us.
Look at him.
It's because of the show.
It is because
the show has done it again. We've done it again. And I know some people don't want to believe that. You cannot believe that, but our work here continues to scale at a rate that I don't think we even know we're capable of. Like, we ourselves are now responsible for the next thing, which is a semifinal of a World Cup. We've delivered, Folarin.
We've delivered.
And I'm just, again, just to like get into a little bit of the dynamic of how he fits in. Just changes the whole dynamic of our attack for the national team in terms of where he can fit on the field, the type of profile of players we need around him, because he is a goal scorer that can create goal-scoring opportunities alone. We don't currently have that, right? Ricardo Pepi's a great goal scorer, but Balogun creates goals on his own. He creates them in 1v1 scenarios. He can isolate and create those moments out of nothing. That changes the whole dynamic of our national team in terms of who we need around him, how many we need around him, how defensive we can be, how offensive we can be, where we press on the field. It's just a completely different type of profile.
You got way too analytical. I wanted to stay in the emotional side of things. I'm so excited. We got him. We got him. He's a good player, and we got him. Now, I do want to say that, as you mentioned, we've been on this beat for a while. And in fact, I said something, I don't know how many months ago. I think it was after the World Cup, where I came on and said this. Let's roll that clip, producer Alex. Could be the quest of this podcast moving forward to get Folarin Balogun on the U.S. men's national team. Now, he can play for England. He has played for the youth national teams, but he is playing so well right now for Reims. Oh, it's just Reims, but a French club. That's REIMS. He had a hat trick yesterday, and it's becoming so undeniable. He scored against PSG the game before that in a 1-1 draw. I assume England would bring him back in, but England is so Harry Kane focused, and they got Marcus Rashford. They got other players. Like, maybe he'll just fall through the cracks. And why wouldn't he at some point? We've talked about this before, but why wouldn't he come to the U.S. if he knew he would probably play a whole bunch more? Yes, exactly right. He's got 19 goals and 2 assists so far in Ligue 1. He did go scoreless for about a month, but he scored in their last game. Now, his club, Reims, I've learned how to pronounce, or at least pronounce it properly. They've dropped out of those European spots. Their young manager, Will Still, has done an excellent job with them, but they have some work to do. Balogun is getting some interest from all over the place. Arsenal doesn't look like they're going to want to bring him back, so big summer for him as well. You know what, Heath? We can just add him to the list as someone that's going to now be part of the player pool. That what are they going to do this summer? Are they going to stay? Are they going to go? What is the whole thing? But I'm absolutely buzzing. No, before we go any further, though, we want to hear, or actually this is what Balogun put on his Instagram page, his Instagram story. Let's take a look at that right now. Let's take a listen to it. Go for it.
At the moment is Balogun and U.S. men's national team. The kid was born in New York. He's already played for the U.S. at the youth level. It's a young squad. It's a hungry squad, and Balogun fits right in. He's the perfect guy to take this squad to the next level. If you're the United States, you have to go and get him. Today is the day a decision has been made. Here we go.
Oh, baby. You can't see it. It's just the U.S. jersey that he's showing, but that's a nice little drop there in the U.S. crest. Wow. I can't believe it's real. I mean, I can't believe it's real, but I can't believe it's real at the same time, Heath. This is exciting news. Now, do you feel like we're putting an incredible amount of pressure on this player's shoulders? We definitely are. But
hell yeah.
It's when the quote there, and I think it's from Stu Holden, who says he's going to take this team to the next level. My one concern, now we'll leave the emotional side and get into the analytical. My one concern is you still got to get the guy the ball in good spots for him to do what he does best. And are we built or set up that way to maximize what he brings to the table? Because he scored a lot of goals for his club team, but he also, and I looked up the stats, he's got a lot of offside calls against him, which is great. He's running off the back shoulder of the center back, no problem. But is that how we play? Because I don't necessarily think that's how we play. And so therein lie is a potential conundrum. That said, world-class quality is world-class quality, and I think he's got world-class quality. So we'll figure it out. We've got great players around him. But it's going to take a little bit of time, I think. And U.S. Soccer said he's going to be available for the Nations League in Vegas against Mexico, and hopefully when we get to the final. So we got that cooking for us, which is nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on there. Look, the reality is he is a player that could play as a winger if we needed him. I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm saying in terms of what he brings, he could be a single striker. Again, we don't do a great job of getting our single striker the ball. I think that's a totally valid point. We could now look at a 2-striker system where you have now your wingers, and maybe you're playing a little bit more of a 6 and an 8, or even you could play with some sort of withdrawn winger system type of thing. And the reason I got straight into the tactics before is because I've been thinking about where does he fit in and how do you actually get the most out of him for that exact reason. And you do need to get him the ball because he can create scenarios like that. But it also means you don't need to have as many players that can do what he does, because he can score goals in the box. You can set him up, but he can set up himself. And so it allows you to now think about, like, could we play with a back 5? Could we play and have 2 strikers up top? Could we play a 4-4-2? Could we just change the dynamic where you have him and Pepi on the field together, where now you've got a target striker? The reality is the reason that we don't find our strikers often, and a lot of teams don't find their strikers often. If you go back and watch Man City the other day, they struggle to find Erling Haaland for a lot of the game because it's clogged. You're playing through a very crowded midfield where unless you have players playing off the shoulder of the striker, creating some of those passing lanes in, it's really hard to. Now with a player like him that we know we don't need to get him all those touches all the time, we need to get him the ball in good spots. You can start to think differently about how you're going to play formation, not formationally, but the system of play of which you're going to get him in dangerous spots, as well as changing the idea of, like, well, do you want to get a Reina on the field now? And by the way, very rarely will we ever in our national team have our best 11 out on the field, right? We know that. We've seen that we saw that leading up all the way even through the World Cup, where we would have been nice to have Gio Reyna, but he wasn't there yet, and obviously for other reasons. But like physically and mentally with that physical side, he wasn't there yet. So we're going to have to figure that out over time. It's not a club team where we're talking about a best 11 over 38 games, right? No, it's just a huge jump forward for us.
It is interesting that you say that it's not a club team, because this feels like a club team. This feels like a summer transfer window. We're club fans over here. We're trying to get some player to join our club moving forward. And it's got those types of vibes. And so fair play to that. And I bring that up because Flo came out and said, I think that's when I really saw the full force of the U.S. fans. Okay, this is him. This is a quote. I was there. This is when he's talking about when he was in Orlando in Florida. And I just posted a photo with my friends thinking it was just a holiday picture. Now, before I knew it, I saw loads of comments and people knowing I was in America, and I just really felt the love from there. There's been a lot of buildup, so I've obviously seen people saying that I should choose to represent the U.S., and it's just something I'm really happy that I've decided to do. That's him with regard to the fans. Now, speaking of the fans, we got a lot of people watching, so we appreciate you hanging out with us for this emergency podcast of In Soccer We Trust. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. If you're listening to this on your podcast platform of choice, you can follow that as well and hit all the appropriate buttons and give us some reviews. We'd like that. But keep those comments coming. We want to read a few of those as we go along in the show. And again, we got James Benge, one of our CBS Sports correspondents who's on House of Champions regularly, one of our brother podcasts here in the family. He's going to be coming on talking about the English perspective about losing Balogun to the U.S. That'll be after our first break. But this is also what he said, Heath. There was a statement prior to talking about the fans. Balogun says, my decision to represent the U.S. came together with my family. In the end, it became a no-brainer, but for sure, it's just something I wanted to do, and it feels like I'm at home here. To represent the U.S. means a lot, more than people would know. I'm very proud and honored to have this opportunity, and I want to give everything that I have to make our team successful. You know what's awesome is that Oguchi Onyewu has only been in the job for, less than a week, and he's already securing the big fishes already, so fair play to him. We're disappointed Charlie Davies isn't with us. He's making the trek home from the CBS Sports Studios, Paramount Plus Studios in Stamford, Connecticut, to get back to his fam. So he's driving right now. Of course, we probably should have had Charlie. I'm actually surprised Charlie drives. I thought he would have a driver, but that's a conversation for another time. Very excited about this. As our resident number 9, Charlie's going to have some fantastic inputs, and our next show will be Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern, so make sure you join us for that. There'll be plenty more to talk about. But I wonder, with regard to this, the ripple effect of this move. Mm-hmm. What does it mean for Ricardo Pepi? What does it mean for Josh Sargent? What does it mean for Jesus Ferreira? I like the thought of going to a 2-striker system. I feel like that's coming back into fashion in some ways tactically around the world. But I wonder how we get Balogun really important touches on the ball consistently. And I think that could be an initial struggle for us. And I wonder, well, I mean, I guess I got a whole bunch of I wonders, but Yunus Musah also was in the Arsenal Academy, and so was Balogun. They've known each other for many years, and I wonder how important he was to this whole recruitment process. But shout out to Yunus Musah, because I love him anyway. But anyway, any thoughts, Heath, on what he's saying? Because it seems like he's saying all the right things. But
I mean, Jimmy, the reality is with Balogun coming into this team, it's going to come at a price of some player that we currently love in our national team. And I don't think it's going to be Ricardo Pepi. Ricardo Pepi, whether you play him or not, is still just another striker within that. But the system is going to change. A player that can go one-on-one, the one that can get out on the wings, the one that can cover ground. Balogun can do all that. He can dribble, he can shoot, he can pass. He's got that package of a striker. Now, you could go with a 2-striker system with him next to Pepi or whoever is most in form in that case. But what it means is that, like you said, you've got to get Balogun the ball in good spots. And that's going to come at a price of maybe a Weah or a Reina on the right-hand side, and the type of player that you need there who wants the ball at their foot a lot.
Wait. If Serginho Dest isn't playing anywhere, Timo Weah is our new right back. Let's just call it
that is true. But you get my point, is that, like, you don't need as many dribblers or types of players like that if you're trying to get a player who can do that on the ball and on the field and closer to the goal. And how that system plays out, I'm not really sure. And then I guess what I'm saying is then from there, the counter press or where we press and all those other aspects of the game have to come into the factor. It's not just about, like, open up, like, part the Red Sea and get Balogun the ball and see what he can do with it. You still have to play through an entire system over 90 minutes. And that's going to come at a tactical sacrifice of somebody we know and love right now in our national team.
Okay. Do you think then, as we try to recruit a new manager, they get a little excited, a little pep in their step now because they've got more options up top? Because they could look at our current player pool prior to Balogun joining and be like, all right, I got some stuff to work with, but it still feels unfinished, right? There's no out and out clear-cut number 1 choice for the number 9. And then all of a sudden Balogun presents itself and you're like, okay, baby, we can party now. I got some ideas. And now maybe that's the one piece that unlocks a manager maybe being more excited about the job. It's interesting to see how this could all play out. And again, what the ripple effects are of this particular decision.
No, I mean, I think more than anything for a coach, you're looking at more the trajectory of this team and the news and the energy around this team more than you are. Balogun's a great get, but we've got a good national team already. We've got a good young national team. That's exciting. But if you go post-World Cup up till now, not a very exciting time in U.S. soccer if you're a manager looking at all the controversies and chaos and change and all those types of things, right?
I was leaving the emotional side of it out.
No, but when I'm thinking about a coach or a manager, it's not hard to see the quality and the talent that we have and the idea of, like, I can get my hands on this and work with this. It's not unrealistic to think about a World Cup semifinal with this group, right? And again, I don't think this is our golden generation. But now that you add this player, not only is your team better on the field, but it's bringing positive vibes and momentum and energy around this national team and bringing it back to being about the players on the field and going and getting results and representing your country, which I think for a while we were just caught up in almost the news cycle, right? And now I think these two things create, like, the emotional and the actual on-field improvement that if you're a coach, you start to go, okay, now this is a good piece. And also the timing of it is really good as we head towards summer and beyond. And giving yourself a good window to work with this group of players, because you got no World Cup qualifying, but some competitions leading up to the World Cup. I think it's great. Well played by Balogun.
Well played, everybody. Apparently, U.S. Soccer has been hot and heavy over him for a long time. I'd like to think that you and I and Charlie were the catalysts. You know, we've been working hard behind the scenes.
We've been hot and heavy too, Jimmy.
We have the receipts to prove it, which we rolled a little bit earlier. All right, we're going to take our only break of this emergency podcast of In Soccer We Trust. When we come back, we're going to get our resident Englishman, James Benge, on the show to talk about how sad he is. So don't go anywhere.
Two teams in control of their own destiny.
Miraculously, impossibly, beyond their dreams, their expectations.
It's the penultimate round of the UEFA Champions League on CBS and streaming live on Paramount+.
All right, everybody, if you're a U.S.-based fan of the beautiful game, Paramount Plus is an absolute must-have subscription. From Serie A to the Champions League to NWSL and so much more in between. This is what the big question is. If you don't think it's for you, what are you doing with your life? Okay, you can try 1 month for free by using the code Europe. That is an exclusive code. It's not, but I like to say it anyway for In Soccer We Trust. Speaking of that, we're back. Jimmy Conrad alongside Hollywood Heath Pierce. Unfortunately, Charlie Davies is taking his private jet somewhere. We don't know where he is at the moment. Maybe he's a little jealous that we'll be talking about a number 9 that's not named Charlie Davies. We'll get into that on Thursday's show. Again, that one kicks off at 1 p.m. Eastern. If you want to watch it live here on the YouTube, hit like and subscribe while you're here. We appreciate you. And if you're listening to this on your podcast platform of choice, hit the appropriate buttons there to show us the love for this podcast. We can keep bringing you the good stuff. All right. We're going to bring on a man, a myth, a legend, who's part of the House of Champions, a podcast also in the CBS Sports family. His name is James Benge.
What up, guys? It's been
What's
too
up,
long.
James Benge? So question. I'm seeing a lot of bitterness from my friends on the Twitters that are British and English, and they're like, oh, he's just our sloppy seconds. We don't. Really
we live in a vacuum. We live in a vacuum. Just so you know,
we don't even want to use them. Blah blah blah. We're talking about Folarin Balogun, who committed from England, made the one-time switch to the U.S. Benge, give us your initial thoughts on how you're feeling about this.
I mean, kind of like these bitter people you're describing. I think it's more than anything. I mean, indifference.
You're an Arsenal fan too, right? So there's an Arsenal play here.
We can come on to the Arsenal angle as well. Indifference would be a harsh word, but I don't particularly think it's worrying me in any great deal. From an England perspective, that Balogun won't be in the setup. I mean, right now, let's say Harry Kane goes down injured, or next summer's. What is it next summer? Euros? I can't remember what year we're in anymore. But yeah, Euro 2024. Say Harry Kane couldn't make it and Balogun has another season akin to the one he's just had in Europe's 5th best league. No one.
Balogun would be, I love the shade, James. Keep it coming.
I don't believe in Europe's top 5 leagues. It's Europe's 5th best league. Balogun wouldn't be particularly in contention. You would have the likes of Ivan Toney, Ollie Watkins, frankly, even the guy that was selected ahead of him at Arsenal, Eddie Nketiah, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think that the worry would be that Balogun is of an age, and I saw this. I saw England under-21's last game against Croatia, where Balogun had clearly by then made his decision, was in Orlando as England were playing Croatia, and it was
injured. Though. He was injured. He needed a little. He needed a little mental.
It's the orange juice, isn't it? Orange juice. Nowhere in Europe you can get top quality orange juice like that.
Why would you? Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go to Florida, you always pick Orlando over Miami. It always makes sense.
But also the oranges don't grow.
He's a massive Harry Potter ultra.
Yeah. Oranges don't grow in winter either. So we're gonna kill that theory.
And from an under-21 perspective, they really missed him. They had no other striker. So there is this sort of specific age bracket where Balogun is probably as good as anyone England have to call upon. But of course, the reality is it's sort of, yes, he might be the best 22-year-old striker, but Harry Kane right now is 29 years old. You kind of want to assume he'll be in contention at least for the next Euros, probably for the next World Cup. Then the likes of Watkins, Toney, Calvert-Lewin, one of them you would hope would come good. And after that, there are some much younger strikers. There's a guy at Man City and there's Jimmy J. Morgan at Chelsea. So I have to be frank. I'm not just teasing you all. I'm delighted for our American audience and delighted to help break that news, to write about the news this morning. But there's no great existential funk here in England about losing Balogun, that's for sure.
Okay, well, thanks, James Benge, for coming on the show.
Yeah, let's ban him. What my question is, I guess, to make it about the you obviously have a luxury of the player development and depth that you've got in England, right? Of that many players that are scoring that many goals at high levels. But for the US fan that has been hearing his name or has maybe seen a goal come across Twitter or something like that and has been hearing about all the hype, what type of player, knowing him coming through the Arsenal system, now scoring what could be 20 plus goals in a season, what kind of player should our fan base be expecting to, what kind of quality should he be adding to our national team?
Yeah, it's really interesting you phrasing it like that, because I remember covering him way back when he was in the Arsenal youth team. And at the time, there were people that would have had him third just in the youth team setup among Arsenal strikers, behind not just Nketiah, who I mentioned, and obviously has done good things for Arsenal this season, but a young lad, Tyrese John-Jules as well, who everyone thought was a bit more varied, could function as more of a 10. Balogun is a 9. He is a top level, or he could be a top level 9. That's got to be the hope. He is someone that thrives around the penalty box. I mean, these are all the things that you guys know better than me, but we all know everywhere in the world, the US is missing that player that can get those shots up in the penalty box, that can find the bouncing ball. And that's what Balogun was great at. I think the thing that's really impressed me is at youth level, there was something of a suspicion that actually some of this was just that he was bigger and stronger than the defenders he was playing against. But there's instincts there. There's an ability to read defenses and know when to make the runs, both in behind on a counter or just where to peel towards in the penalty area. Those are sort of Balogun's great qualities. I think there's a lot of work to be done in terms of what he does off the ball. Although I wonder, is some of that just that Reims are quite a cautious, low block sort of team when they lose possession. His link play is certainly better than it was when I saw him as a youngster, but work to be done there. But some of those things you kind of think that matters much more for the next club that might buy him than it does for the USMNT, who frankly need someone that's good at kicking footballs in the net. And I think I probably first saw him at the age of 16, and you knew then he was always going to be pretty good at kicking footballs in the net.
So I look forward to the day when Dominic Calvert-Lewin is leading the line for England, so that you guys continue to suffer, because I don't think he's going to be the savior for you in any stretch of the imagination. Okay, now we've talked about how it feels like Balogun is unnecessary goods, sloppy seconds for England right now. They don't need him. Kind of getting the same vibes about his future at the club level with Arsenal. Obviously, he's with Jesus and Nketiah. Got Martinelli and Saka that I know they're not like for like, but a lot and scoring a lot of goals and potentially crowding the space that he would occupy. Where do you think his future lies at the club level? Will he stay in France for another season, or do you think he's going to make a move somewhere else?
Whatever happens, the expectation is it will be a permanent move. He's got 2 years left on his contract. He doesn't really want to renew. He doesn't really want to go on loan. And Arsenal are looking at this quite rightly as you said, Jimmy, they've got Jesus. They will be looking to strengthen their attack. And this is a good time to sell. It's a good time to get money. I mean, we're talking about 35 million. It's the sort of thing that we expect them to ask for. They might get less. Leipzig is the obvious one. He's a good fit for them stylistically. They will probably have Champions League football. They're about to lose Nkunku, and they are interested. They're also looking at Jonathan David as well. So I don't know what it is, but they're just like North American strikers, which is good to know. Marseille are another. For me, Europe might be more logical. I mean, from what I've heard, though, pretty much every Premier League team outside the big 6 or 7 have kind of had scouts keeping an eye on him. So there will be a lot of options open. And I think from Arsenal's perspective, what they want is a couple of teams to come in so they can start a bit of a bidding war. If he wanted to stay and be a squad member, I don't particularly think Arsenal would have a problem with that. But everyone is kind of totally understands that this is a great time. This is Balogun's moment, isn't it? This is why he's picked the US. He needs that regular starting football at club level and at international level that he wouldn't have got with Kane ahead of him or Osimhen ahead of him. So yeah, if I was, certainly expect him to move. At the moment, Leipzig seems the most likely, and so many good young US talents in the German league. I'm sure you guys think that would make quite a lot of sense. Would to me.
Do you think he's a top, say 4, 6 in like obviously I don't think he steps into any
Leipzig.
Top 4,
Yes,
6
definitely in Leipzig.
Just that's what I'm thinking. Like beyond the Premier League, outside of that, do you think he's a top top tier, like step in and start type of quality right now, or is he still a little bit unproven after one big season? Because we're obsessed with potential here in the U.S.
We
and
love
we go
it.
nuts
We
when somebody
love
does
overhyping
anything.
all of our players.
Yeah,
It's
we
like
we are the reason for any downfall because we set the bar way too high. But like, do you see him being able to step into a Leipzig and be a 15 to 20 a year and move on from there? Or
Timo Werner?
Yeah, I think he could.
No, please, not the next Timo Werner. Like,
no, I'm saying next two, not the next.
No. Okay.
Well, I mean, that could be perfect for him because he can finish all the chances that Werner misses, all the rebounds.
The follow-ups. Yeah.
I think if he chooses the right club, there is a really good chance of him becoming a top 20 striker in the world. I wouldn't want to get carried away. I mean, top 20 striker in the world is really decent to have, and that's by 2026. If you've got that, and you've got, I'm a massive Tyler Adams fan. You've got so many other good young talents, like Chris Richards, that will come good. Having like top 20 talent all around the pitch, and having good young talent, that probably gets you fairly deep into the World Cup, doesn't it? It probably might not win you it, but you guys know that. You deep down, that's never going to happen. I think he is. He would be a good striker in a top 4 European league. I don't think he will probably quite develop into the sort that Arsenal wish they hadn't sold, that Man City, Man United are pounding on the door and offering 120 million for. But I do think he's a good striker, and in the right team, in a more direct counter-attacking team, I think he's going to score loads of goals. And if the alternatives were Jesus Ferreira, Josh Sargent, I would be getting as excited as you guys are.
Okay, so just to kind of take what you were saying there, Benj, about him not turning into it. I think they were saying the same thing about Mo Salah when he was at Chelsea, Kevin De Bruyne when he was at Chelsea. So there's plenty of room for Balogun to prove you wrong, and I hope that he does. Now, let's pivot really quick, and we appreciate your time before we let you go. Talk to us about Patrick Vieira. Obviously got let go by Crystal Palace. Do you think, and he has experience in MLS with NYCFC, and he has a clear identity of how he likes to play, and obviously well-respected for a number of reasons. Do you think, given what you saw from him, do you think he'd be a good fit for us as a national team manager? Because he's in the mix, from what I understand.
Is he? I think he'd be brilliant. I don't know if, like from Vieira's perspective now is
well, it's assuming he wants the job, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm wondering if he would want to. He seemed to really relish his club jobs and actually did very well at most of them. But I think he would be a really fantastic hire for the US in terms of the players that you have and the optionality that he can bring, the way he uses youngsters and develops them. Everyone that worked under him at Palace, and they were kind of a similar age to the US squad, they all came away saying such glowing things. And I think there was a lot of, even from the Palace, from Steve Parish and the people at Palace that sacked him, it was done with a really heavy heart, because I think they know he's a player a manager that really connects with players. He can be stern and he can be really tough if you don't meet standards, but he equally has this quality of raising up young footballers. And I think he'll be a phenomenal hire, much better than going for maybe a more starry name who's there for the paycheck. I'd love that for you guys. And obviously, it's Patrick Vieira. I might actually have to wish the USMNT well if he's in charge.
We're just taking all of Arsenal's rejects at this point. We got plenty of time for it. We got plenty of time for it, especially when they have as much quality as those two names that we've been discussing. James Bench, thank you so much for your time. Go over to House of Champions. Go listen to his podcast. Go read all of his stuff on CBSSports.com. We love you, James Bench. Thank you, even though you took some shots at the US. We'll see you soon. And then, Heath, what do you think about Benj's comments?
You
want to fight?
Almost gave him a little.
You tried to trigger you, almost like
shot
Charlie,
to the chin
did yesterday. Yeah.
No, I think the reality is we live in our bubble, and our bubble is a different perspective than an English fan, or just the harsh realities of where he fits into the ecosystem, right? I think the truth is that had he scored 19 in the Premier League this year, we wouldn't be having this conversation about Folarin Balogun, right? I think we've done a great job of recruiting him. I think we've done a great job of making him feel like this is a project he wants to be part of. I think you and I have done our job, and Charlie as our producers of bringing him in and getting this deal over the line. But that is the truth. He's still got a lot to prove. I would love for us to have the last laugh on Folarin Balogun, right? And see where his club career goes and what he could do with the national team, so that English fans and the national team look back someday and go, what, imagine what if, right? What would have happened? What could have been? And maybe that's a big reach. Maybe that's out of reach potentially, but I would love for that to be the end of that story someday, is to look back and say, man, he actually could have been he could have been the difference for England, right? But instead he's the difference for us. And that's what I like.
From your lips to the ears of the soccer gods, please allow that to happen. But this is a great first step. It just makes our national team player pool that much deeper, and obviously adds that quality. I think when you add a player that has the quality that Balogun does, it's going to raise the game of everybody around them. And even the people that he's competing against to get playing time, they know now that they have to pick it up and try to hit a new level. And that's only going to, rising tide lifts all boats, I believe is the famous phrase with regard to that. All right, that's it. The Emergency Podcast is over. Me and Heath are going to go pop some bottles that Chuck gave us for this big news. Very, very nice of Chuck to do that. We're going to be back on Thursday. It's 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll go live here on the YouTube, so you can listen to it anytime on your podcast platform of choice. We got him, everybody. Folarin Balogun is playing for the U.S. Today is a great day. So on behalf of producer Des, producer Alex, Charlie when he shows up, and me and Heath, we appreciate you and all of your support for In Soccer We Trust. And we'll see you on Thursday. Later.
You're welcome. We got him.